I think we're going to start and get into things pretty much straight away. It looks like we're not going to have a big crew tonight. The purpose of these sessions is to give you a little bit of information if you're considering enrolling in one of our courses in one of the upcoming sessions, and also to provide some other background information, because there's some very good, strong relationships between IT Masters and the Australian Computer Society and Charles Sturt as well. And we thought we'd give you a bit of information about those. So welcome to all of you who have come. And I will start first with the IT Masters part of the thing, but we do welcome that Henry Louis is here tonight from the Australian Computer Society. He's the Manager of Recognition Programs, and I'll give him a formal introduction in a few minutes when I've finished. And yes, this will be recorded and it'll be posted on YouTube tomorrow. So the agenda will be about IT Masters a little bit, some pathways to a master's degree, and ACS membership and its benefits. But I should really also at this point just do a little bit of housekeeping. As always with these sessions, if you've got chat, just chat to each other in the webinar chat. Lots of people have got things to say there, and I'll try and respond to that where I can. But you've got a distinctive question of either Henry or myself about the content, then please put it in the Q&A. We will try and do a couple of sessions of Q&A, maybe one after I've finished the IT Masters section and one at the end, a longer one as well. So feel free to put questions in there and we will answer them as much as we can. As those of you who were here last night, which was at least one person, will know we sometimes don't get to all the questions, but I don't see that as being a major problem this evening. And also, just to start off with, it is important that IT Masters and the ACS would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we work and from which we're listening. I pay our respects and my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate the diversity of Indigenous peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and the waters of our country that we all share. So, having said that, I shall step right into the next part, which is talking about why IT Masters and Charles Sturt University. That's the important question, I think, often for people who attend these sessions. First thing is that we're 100% online, and we've been doing 100% online courses for over 22, I think it is, years now. We started at the end of 2002, so just on 22 years. And that refers back to the partnership that we have with Charles Sturt. That partnership has been ongoing and exclusive for all of that period of time. Neither of us have done anything with other parties over that period of time. And that's what makes it an enduring partnership, because the model that we have is, I think, unique. We're the only organisation that provides half the courses, half the subjects for a university course alongside and in partnership with the university. So none of the other partnerships actually do that. Most of the things that say they're in partnership are actually where a external provider will come and provide the resources for the university's courses to be presented. But we actually provide all of the IP for our courses, what we call the industry subjects, and Charles Sturt provides all the IP and the teachers for their subjects, and we do it as part of the Charles Sturt thing. So it is a unique partnership, it's an enduring partnership, and it's a high quality partnership. We find that IT Masters students, as a rule, slightly outperform Charles Sturt general students on all of the criteria you might like to mention. Our students tend to complete their courses more regularly. They tend to do slightly better academically. They tend to have fewer problems in getting things done, mainly because most of the people who do our courses are already quite, have been in business for quite a lot of years, either working for other people or running their own business. And so they're more likely to get ahead and do it. And our courses are always designed around people who are either in business or working for an organization. And so that's what it's around, flexibility. So the courses being online, you can study when you want. We also try, within the bounds of what the university allows, to make our course structures as flexible as possible. And we'll talk a little bit about pathways in a minute. Eligibility is another key part of our course structures as well, in that many of our students, and when I say many, very many, have come to us with either very, very old university undergraduate degrees, maybe in a completely different discipline, or no university previous study whatsoever. That doesn't prevent you from doing postgraduate. It means that what you would do is enter via a graduate certificate area and then go on later on. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But we have a way of pre-organizing that for you, or helping you get through that by filling in our eligibility form, which is almost like a pre-approval. We can sort of give you a bit of advice about whether you can be approved or not when you get into the actual application stage. Credit is another part, and we will go into that a little bit more with the ACS, but we offer varying degrees of credit for subjects. So if you've been doing, for example, Cisco courses or Microsoft courses or CompTIA courses, for example, then they can, in many cases, be credited against individual subjects in a lot of our degrees, where the subject matter overlaps 80% or more. And there's very strict criteria around that. And again, that is a unique thing that Charles Sturt allows IT masters to do, and have done over many years that we've been negotiating it. Commonwealth supported places, I mentioned that because they are still available. We get told every year for the last 3 years that they are finishing that program soon. At the moment, we are told that it will be continued until the last session this year, which is starts in November. But beyond that, we don't know what's happening. We think there's going to be a new sort of program that will be completely different, but may have some similar benefits. That's all we know at the moment, and I don't think Charles Sturt know any more than that either. But it is worthwhile keeping in mind, because a Commonwealth supported place in some of our graduate certificates will save you around about 70% if you're doing IT subjects on your normal prices. So it is well worth considering enrolling earlier rather than later at the moment. And finally, free short courses is the other part of our mix, if you like, in that we offer the free short courses to everybody in the world. In fact, of the 500,000 people that have enrolled in the courses over the last 10 or so years, probably just over 50%, maybe 60-something% of them are from overseas. And they're not people that will ever do any of our Charles Sturt courses, but they're, they are a good thing in themselves, and they give you a practice in how to do online study, because there's not substantive differences between a lot of the subject matter that's in the free short courses and the subject matter that's in our actual university postgraduate degree courses. So they're well worth keeping up with and trying. The record at the moment is somebody has actually passed the exams for 37 short courses over the years with us. I feel like we should send him an award, but he's actually living in Singapore, so it's a little bit easy, a little bit hard. If you look at that whole mix, though, what I'd say about that is that we try to have what we call a student-first attitude in what we do. In some respects, we see ourselves as a partner with our students as much as we're a partner with Charles Sturt, in that we assist you where required in getting through some of the entanglements that you can get in dealing with a large institution. So we actually handle all of the enrollments ourselves, and we handle a lot of the other administration. So if you've got a problem with something that's going on in your university with us, you speak to us, even if it's about a Charles Sturt subject. We'll either direct you to who to speak to at Charles Sturt, or we'll help you try and sort out the problem. And that can relate to things like getting credits, exams, all sorts of different things that we do along the way. Okay. So now that you've, where is that going? I'm sorry, my thing is not going. So just just a bit of a summary. These are the courses that we offer. They're in these areas. A career transition graduate certificate. That's designed for people who have either very little IT experience, or who want to sample a number of different courses, or it provides a number of different places along the way, because it is eligible for the Commonwealth supported places. So a number of our people that know exactly what they want to do, maybe in cyber, might do a cyber security graduate certificate and then do a career transition graduate certificate as well, in order to get some more subjects at a lesser rate. So we've been doing a lot of that over the last couple of years, but it is very good for people who want to come into the industry without much previous experience. Cybersecurity is our biggest subject area. We offer a graduate certificate in cybersecurity and a master's program as well. A graduate certificate is 4 subjects and a master's is 12. So you can knock over a graduate certificate in about 6 to 8 months, and a master's can take 3 times that amount of time, depending on how many subjects you want to do. You do have to remember that it takes about 10 to 12 hours a week of study to do a complete subject for the 12 weeks that it's on. So, 2 subjects a session is usually a good sort of amount. Cloud computing is the next biggest area that we offer, a graduate certificate again and a master's. Networking and system admin, which was our original courses that we first started offering back in 2002. Again, a graduate certificate and a master's in those. There's quite a lot of overlap these days between cloud and network and sysadmin, but there are separate courses and separate degrees. An MBA program is something that we've also offered, and our MBA program is also very different. There's a grad cert in business admin to start off with, but in the MBA itself, there's a core set of subjects which are business oriented management subjects. And then after that, you can actually get into a specialist area. So you can do a cybersecurity specialist MBA program. So it is quite a unique thing, and it's really geared for IT people. And just as an aside to Shane Curry, who has to leave at 7:30, if you email us, we will, you can pick up the details, but we can also tell you more about what you're interested in with the ACS membership as well. Project management is the next subject area. We have a graduate certificate, a graduate diploma, and a master's in project management. And again, that's very geared to IT students and IT workers. We have had quite a lot of people from the building industry do it, and they find it very good as well. But when you're doing it, much of it will focus on IT type project management. And so it does things like Agile, for example, or different parts of different forms of project management. And then finally, a digital marketing area, which again is a graduate certificate and a master's, and that just tries to keep up with search engine marketing and all sorts of digital marketing. It's applied digital marketing, not theoretical. And in fact, that's the basis of all our subjects, because they're 50% us and taught by people that are in the industry and 50% academic. We call our subjects industry subjects. So I've talked a little bit about the journey to the master's. Essentially, people do our free short courses, they try the online learning, build some confidence, and you can get a subject credit if you do 3 of our free short courses. You can't get multiple subject credits if you do 18 of them, for example. You still only get 1, but it does give you some benefit in terms of doing the courses, because each short course is equivalent to roughly 1/3 of a subject. Then your way into the course is either via your work experience, and you need about 2 years or so of relevant work experience. And it doesn't have to be in IT. It just needs to be significant work experience, particularly if you're going into the graduate certificate in career transition. If you've got a previous relevant degree or some sort of postgraduate qualification, then you can go directly into the graduate certificate or into the master's. Otherwise, you have to take the pathway into a graduate certificate first and then onto a master's. And we've had, I think, about 13,000 people go through our courses over the last few years. It is a fully accredited TEXA postgraduate qualification, which you actually get the piece of paper from Charles Sturt. And as we said, entry via experience or degree. The other good thing about it is that when you move from the graduate certificate into the master's, you get the full credit for all the graduate certificate subjects along the way. And there's ways of managing that. And I would advise you to speak to our course advisors all the way along, because they will tell you how to best maximize what you're doing in your course in order to take the least possible time and, get through it as fast as you can. And people that have studied with us before get a 10% alumni discount. So once you've done the graduate certificate, your next 8 subjects are 10% cheaper because you're actually on the way with that. And we find that many of our students come back and do 2, 3, or even 4 degrees or graduate certificates with us over an extended period of time. We have quite a loyal group of people that study with us. So just to summarize, before I hand over to Henry in a couple of minutes, am I eligible? The answer is most often yes. If your work experience is bricklaying, then that's probably going to be a bit problematic, and we would suggest that you do some preemptive courses to give you some more knowledge. But for most people who've been working in some sort of career for a while, most often you'll be able to get into the course. I'm new to IT. That's not problematic for us because the graduate certificate in computing allows you to sort of pick and choose subjects. The subjects are from every area, as well as having introductory subjects available. So it can actually give you a really good introduction at a postgraduate level as well. And I haven't studied at university for a long time, or, I haven't been there forever, then the free short courses are a way of doing that. And again, if you don't have time, and that is really the main reason why people are stopped from starting a postgraduate degree, because it does chew up some time, but it is flexible. Because it's online, you can listen to the courses whenever you want. Many of our students do it at night after the children have gone to sleep, or they get up early in the morning, or they take a little spot here and there, or their work gives them some time off as well. Don't underestimate the amount of assistance that your workplace is prepared to give you to get a course under your belt that is, pertinent to your job. And we believe that the ROI of getting something like a master's qualification is about 3 years. You get your money back in terms of the amount of additional money that you would expect to earn over a period of time. If you look at people with master's degrees, they earn X percentage more. I think it's about 13% more than people without master's degrees, as a rule in the workforce. It's not automatic, but it just means it opens up many more jobs to you and many more pathways to progress your career. Now, I've given you the, I suppose, the sales pitch side of the night. What we really wanted to learn about tonight is something a little bit different. We want to talk to Henry and listen to Henry about what's going on with the ACS. As an introduction, the ACS have been partners with IT Masters now for, I don't know how many years. We'll find out in a minute, because Henry will know better than I will, because he was here for all of that time. And it's a very close relationship. The ACS actually certifies one of the Charles Sturt and IT Masters degrees, the Cyber Security Masters. And that is a very rigorous process. And we also have another couple of relationships, which we'll talk about before. So I'd like to bring Henry Louis on and introduce him. Henry's been in the industry for over 30 years. He's worked at some of the certifiers and course providers like Novell. He's worked at CompTIA. And I believe, Henry, that your hobby is collecting old computers.
It is actually, well, one of my hobbies, and strangely enough, I actually used to collect basketball cards. So anyone that actually remembers the early 1990s and stuff, the basketball cards are really big. I used to do that too. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you people, like, this is actually like what got me through like high school and stuff. And if anyone's actually old enough to actually remember, but there's another one. So if you actually know what that one is, put that into the chat. But anyway, there's a couple of the old computers that I actually have. But thanks, Shane. I just want to say, Shane, too, that just been listening to you, you've got a very good radio voice. So I don't know if you've ever thought about doing a podcast as a career after IT Masters, but I think you'd do very well out of it. But yeah, thanks so much. So the presentation today is to look at being an ACS member and how it can actually save your course time, and as well as actually boost your career. I'm Henry Louis. I'm the Manager of Recognitions Programs. So as Shane says, I've been in the industries for 1990. So do the math in that respect, and actually started off as an analyst programmer with Telecom Australia, and then moved into a different role. So I was service desk, helping to roll out the original Telstra or Telecom SOE. Network administrator, where I actually picked up my Novell skills. If anyone remembers Novell Netwear, and then end up working for Novell, becoming education manager, then transitioned to CompTIA, where I was regional director of their certification programs. And I've been with the ACS since 2015, so I've been around for quite a long time. Henry, is your dad's name Robert? No, Julio, but if anyone with the surname, this is useless trivia, but anyone with the surname Louis, Louey, we're all related in some capacity, because the Louis name all came from the one village in China, which is called Toisan. So we're second or third generation now, and a very large base, but all Louis are related in some direction. But people have asked me, do I know a Robert Louis, a few times actually during presentations. Speaking of questions, if you can hold off to the end, this presentation shouldn't go for more than about 20 minutes, but hold off questions at the end, because I'll probably be able to answer your questions as we go through anyway. But great question there, Julia. Shane, you want to go to the next slide? Yeah. So who are the ACS? So the ACS, we are the Professional Association for Australia's technology sector, and the largest community with over 47,000 members from across business, government, and education. What's really interesting is that although ACS is Australian based, about 10% of our cohort are actually overseas members. So we do have a large expat population in United Kingdom, Southeast Asia, and interesting enough, along the west coast of America, who are actually members of ours. So although we actually are an Australian association, we do have quite a large international membership. Our vision, an Australia powered by highly skilled, diverse technology professionals, inspiring positive change through technology. And this is probably the reason why I love my job so much, is really about ensuring that our staff or our members actually have the right capabilities to do their work, whether that's actually assisting them with knowledge transfer, working with partners like Charles Sturt University and ensure that they've actually got the right qualifications, and also too being recognised through certification programs, which I'll talk about in about 5 slides. Our mission is to work to accelerate the growth and diverse of highly skilled technology professionals, equipping them with the right skills and knowledge needed to advance their careers and Australia's technology, both now and in the future. So if anyone ever wants to know what our mission and our vision statements are, they're on that slide. Next slide. Thanks, Shane. Just really quickly, the way we do this, we call it 4 pillars. So the first pillar is around community, which is focusing on fostering innovative and inclusive community within Australia. As I said, the community, it changes as it's 47,000 members, and we run approximately about 12,000 events per year. I know, Shane, last year, we actually ran one of those 12,000, actually doing a joint ACS CSU webinar around the value of ACS certification as an example of that. Capability is setting the standards for assessing, developing, and recognising the skills and experience of technology professionals. So as part of ACS membership, all members, and I'll talk about this in the next slide, has access to what we call the Learning Accelerator, which is powered by Skillsoft. And there's and we've got roughly around 11,000 unique users or members who are taking up the advantage of actually utilising our LMS. And in Skillsoft, there's around 44,000 digital assets, and I'll talk more about that, as I said, in a couple of slides. Shane actually mentioned it before, is that from a career standpoint, we create career pathways to guide technology professionals and ensure Australia has the pipeline and talent with the right skills and knowledge. So ACS accredits pretty much all the Australian university ICT courses. So if you have a degree from, Melbourne, or an ICT degree from Deakin, Melbourne, University of Canberra, etc., it's pretty much would be those degrees themselves actually would be accredited by the ACS. And as Shane mentioned, one of your cyber degrees actually is from CSU, is accredited from ACS. So we're accredited 46 universities, both in Australia and overseas. And also, too, from a CPD standpoint, our members have logged last year around 48,000 CPD hours, not just our certified members, but all of our members. So, we know that they do a lot of continuing professional development, which is great for their career aspirations. And a lot of people probably know ACS through migration. So we also are the assessing body for DOHA, the Department of Home Affairs. So ACS is the assessing body for DOHA for skilled migrants. So last year, last 12 months, just under 40,000 skilled migrant applications. And also 2 professional year programs. So you talked about your certificate or grad certificate in IT, Shane, if I remember the previous slide. ACS also has a professional year program where it takes people who recently graduated, and it's that sort of gap year of transition them actually into the workforce. And we have a young professional or professional year program as well. So that's typically what we do in ACS as a holistic view. But let's look into more detail within each of those. And let's talk about some member benefits. So I'm not going to go into huge detail with this because this actually itself is quite a large slide, and I've truncated it down deliberately just to sort of highlight some of the key points I think that most people in this presentation will be looking at. But there's quite a number. So as an ACS member, you all get access to a lot of our thought leadership. So this is white papers, industry reports, what we call snapshots. So if anyone that knows like the Gartner reports, etc., ACS have very similar ones as well. And we also have a bi-weekly newsletter, which is the Information Age, where people can actually look at relevant or current ICT information. We talk about, we host a number of industry events, and those events can actually be for professional, technical, or ethical standards. So we're not only just doing knowledge transfer, whether it's on blockchain or penetration testing, etc., but we also host CIO roundtables, etc. We talked about advocacy and policy. So one of the things that ACS does every election cycle is to submit an election manifesto of where we believe ICT should be headed, and what whichever government is in sitting government has should actually have against ICT plans for election manifesto. Just one second.
While you're coughing there, Henry, I will say that Information Age is a very good publication in the stuff that we get, and also so is the Digital Pulse. That's your annual survey, isn't it, of what's going on in IT, and that provides a lot of good information that we read every year. Yeah,
thanks for that, Jane. And those are all available for reading for members themselves. I mentioned earlier the access to the ACS Learning Accelerator. This actually is powered by Skillsoft or Percipio. So as ACS members, you get access to the full IT suite from Percipio. Gives you access to over 7,000 training courses and related videos. But probably more importantly, if you're pursuing Microsoft, Cisco, CompTIA, EC Council, ISACA, ITSQB, type of certifications, all of the certification content's available to you through our Learning Accelerator. It doesn't include the exams, but at least it will prep you if you actually are looking to get certified. We do also have partnerships with organizations like Lumify if you want to do some external partner training. That's available to us as members. And also too, all members, whether you're certified or not, get access to up to $20 million of public liability and professional indemnity insurance. That's actually part of a blanket coverage. So if you are a sole trader, or if you're already actually purchasing insurance, having ACS membership will actually give you that overall coverage. So Shane, yeah, so we asked about how can ACS help you. That's one of those.
That's huge, because that sort of insurance is worth far more than the cost of membership in itself, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is or not, but yeah, but so you can actually, as a member, you can just ring up our member services and get the insurance note, and you can actually just have that as part of your overall insurance. We also have what's called a professional standards scheme. So any certified member as a certified professional is eligible to join our professional standards scheme, which is underpinned by Professional Standards Australia, and the PSS is the well, I wouldn't say legal, but it's the recognition that you are working as an IT professional, and you have a lot of benefits under the PSS, for example, like cap liability that's available too. So these are just type of things that anyone who joins as an ACS member actually gets access to. I will also mention, well, I didn't actually list it, but anyone that works in Brisbane, Canberra, Melbourne, and Sydney have access to the ACS hubs. And these are basically, the best way I describe these would be like WeWork, or I always call it like Qantas Club for IT, where as a member, you can actually come up during business hours and actually work within our hub. And that you've got quiet working spaces, free internet, printing, tea, coffee facilities, etc. and meeting rooms for our certified members. But Shane, I know that you, as
I
IT
was going to
marketing,
say, yeah,
takes advantage of that. Yeah.
absolutely, because for those of you that don't know, IT Masters is solely a work from home organization, even though we're part of a bigger group that has offices and the like. And we often choose to go into the ACS headquarters here in Melbourne in Docklands because it is a great place to have meetings. If I want to get my team together, for example, we go in there for a meeting once every quarter or so. And, there's lots of facilities there. It's quiet and, there's still a bit of a buzz going on. So it is a great place to go into. Much better than WeWork.
Oh, thanks. I've actually never been to a WeWork, Shane, so I don't know what to actually compare it to. But anyway, let's just quickly talk more about the Learning Accelerator. I've already actually spoken about it, but the Learning Accelerator is, well, really, it is the Percipio Skillsoft product itself. And it's a really great way of keeping up to date with technology. They refresh their library, I think, monthly, because I always get the change requests or the change reports through Percipio. So not only do you get access to vendor certifications, but you get a range of whole different streams, whether you're interested in doing data science work or networking or project management or software testing. There's a whole range of streams that you can actually utilize. Now, for those that work in organizations, and you might say, well, we're already invested in lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning, or we're already invested in another LMS. That's absolutely fantastic. This is not about replacing what you already have, but if you don't have access to an LMS and you're looking at I shouldn't say cheap way, but if you're looking at a cost-effective way of actually getting access to online learning to supplement your learning, then having ACS membership and one of the products being the Learning Accelerator might be beneficial, might be advantageous for you, etc. I won't go through the other areas, but it just basically talks about the benefits of using an LMS, which you've probably heard of in multiple presentations in the past anyway. Let's go to the next slide if possible, Shane. Yeah, as I said, ACS hosts a whole range of different events. Those type of events themselves are really geared towards what you want. So we understand, and I always talk about this as being a cradle to grave approach. So interesting enough, and I might actually just do an aside and talk a little bit about my background if you don't mind, Shane, but my career actually started with actually being, or accelerated by actually joining a professional body. So way back in the early 1990s, I was working with a software suite called Novell. So anyone in this room that actually knows Novell or Novell Net, where I was certified, what was called a certified Novell engineer. And Novell had a professional association called CNEPA, the Certified Novell Engineers Professional Association. And I actually joined the CNEPA being a certified Novell engineer, and was able to network and connect with like-minded, Novell professionals at the time in the 90s. Having that access and being able to network with those individuals really enabled me to grow my network, and it got me involved with actually working with Novell at the time. And it's through those connections that when a pre-sales engineer training role actually opened up for Novell at the time, they actually recommended that, hey, are you interested in actually applying for the role? So for me, I joined CNEPA, one, for the knowledge transfer to get the technical training because it was really cost effective, but inadvertently, because I just wanted just to get to understand the technology. Inadvertently, it helped me to actually grow that network. So, and I've always been involved with professional bodies ever since that day, because having those events are really important. We know that a lot of the events now are actually online, but having face-to-face and networking events across Australia is actually really, really important for you. If you're an employer, it's a great way to inspire your team because they can actually go to ACS events and listen to like-minded people and share their experiences. Helps you build your profile by getting your name out there and actually networking with like-minded individuals. We have formats to suit everybody. So I call it cradle to grave. if you're a young professional, you're really interested in us being a sponge, getting that knowledge transfer, probably networking and either getting your first job in IT or getting a better job in IT. So that's also very important. But if you're a middle manager, or if you're more towards the tail end of your career, the technical knowledge may not necessarily be your focus, but you're more interested in thought leadership or talking about scenario-based challenges. Like, for example, how does Mike Malone from IINet, what were the challenges for him to actually run a large ISP? We've actually got those type of formats of courses available, or those type of sessions available for members as well. Developing your team's capabilities. So all of our courses attract CPD hours. We run a whole range of different events, both technical as well as non-technical, to help develop your teams. And as I said, we talked about the broad industry knowledge as well through ACS events. Thanks, Shane. If you want to go to the next slide.
No worries. You can also, I would imagine, pick up an employee or two if you network well.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that and I can talk about some examples, but I probably won't. I'll just talk in general terms. But that actually has happened, where I wouldn't say they've been headhunted, but there have been people who have attended some of our blockchain events, and people have quickly realized that the person that had attended knew their stuff, and there was a lot of referrals where they've said, "Hey, have you got some time to consult to us," etc. So that's actually happened quite a number of times, Shane. A number of times where that's actually come across. Yeah,
I can also speak to the fact that, as somebody who has historically hated networking events and not been comfortable doing that stuff, it is an important part of your job usually. And for even those of us who don't particularly like them, they're very relaxed and very welcoming.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Shane. I didn't even pay you to actually say that, but I appreciate it. Yeah. As I mentioned, there's quite a number of publications. I think this is the last slide before we go to certification, but there's quite a number of publications that are available to us. So we have the bi-weekly information aid, which is very much like for those in Melbourne, it's like the Green Guide or CRN, etc. So it's basically a little bit of a snapshot of what's happening in IT today. Our digital pulse is a weekly snapshot or yearly snapshot of what's happening in the ICT industry each year. So every year we launch, we release a digital pulse. So it talks about things, for example, like the number of the gaps in knowledge workers, where the largest growth is in certain job roles or sectors. What is the participation rate from a diversity standpoint in respect to like things, for example, like women working in IT, and what's the percentage rates? All of that information is actually available and very well received, both by employees, individuals, as well as actually state and federal government. So really great publication. May not necessarily affect an individual, but definitely helpful for a lot of people who actually absorb that information. We do explore a lot of topics in depth. So we've had Dr. Ian Opperman, who was previously the chief data scientist for CSIRO, help write and publish, for example, data sharing frameworks for IT. So we've released quite a number of different white papers, even things like blockchain security, etc. They're available as publications for members to actually download and absorb. And again, I won't go into broadening perspectives and understandings, but I will mention that we also have access to some respected magazines. So all ACS members have access to a digital subscription of Computer Reseller News as well. So there is no shortage of publications that are available to an ACS member as well for you. Thanks, Shane. So come to ACS certification, which is my role. So what I might do, Shane, is actually go to the next slide rather than talking about certifications here. So what do I do? Or what do I do? Some people say not a lot, but from my role as manager of recognitions programs is that I basically own the certification portfolio at the ACS. I primarily have 4 major recognition programs or certifications, if you want to call it that. However, I'm only going to focus on 3 of these, or in fact, I'm actually really only going to focus on 2 of these today, this evening. If you want to know more, feel free to reach out. But ACS is, and probably our flagship certification is what's called the ACS Certified Technologist or the Certified Professional. And what it is it demonstrates that you are a rounded professional with competence in your field, breadth of ICT knowledge, and a commitment to ethical practice and long life learning. Probably doesn't really tell you a lot more. So the best way of probably describing this is to give an example in a certification standpoint. So if you, and just as you probably know, and some of you probably already looked me up on LinkedIn while this presentation is happening, but my background was actually built on vendor certification. So I've got certifications like the Novell CNE, CNA, etc. And I've also got my CompTIA A+, Security Plus, Network Plus, all of those type of certifications. The value of vendor certs should never be dismissed. And a lot of employers require or desire staff to actually have those type of certifications. The challenge that we have, though, is if someone has a Prince 2 certification or a CCNA, it doesn't necessarily give us any indication of how they're actually applying that knowledge, if at all, in a workplace. So a way of suing, and I'm just going to pick on you, Shane. If you had like a Prince 2 certification, and I know Prince 2 is actually one that's recognized through IT Masters, does that mean that you are a successful project manager?
No, it means you passed the course.
Yeah, well, you can't say no, but maybe. We don't know. There isn't enough information.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. So this is where the certified technologist and certified professional is that our assessment is not necessarily about the knowledge and skills that you have attained through vendor certifications, academic qualifications, through industry experience, but it's how you've applied those knowledge and skills as a level of competence in the workforce. And we use a framework called SOFIA. It stands for it's SFIA. I always call it SFIA with a silent O. But SOFIA, or the Skills Framework for the Information Age, is a framework that will it's a framework that defines 121 skills that people use in IT today. So those skills are programming and software development, project management, portfolio and program management, enterprise architecture, solution architect, but it can also encompass non-ICT skills like stakeholder relationship, like customer service management, skills, for example, like business situation analysis as skills, but they're skills that are applied in an IT framework. So what SOFIA does is that it will determine or can align to the skills that you use, but then how you actually apply it. So SOFIA has 7 levels of responsibility. Level 1, which is follow, which I always call the work experience level, right through to level 7, which is sets by and mobilizes an organization, which is really your C-suite, and then everything in between. So a certified technologist is benchmarked for anyone that works at SOFIA levels 3 or 4. And a certified professional is anyone that works at levels 5, 6, or 7. So the difference between like a CT and a CP is that a CT is very competent in the work that they do. They have the knowledge and skills to either apply or to their work, or to enable, to apply to their work. Whereas someone at a CP level has the knowledge and skills to ensure and advise. So working at a CP level, you really are, very, very highly autonomous. You're typically a subject matter expert in your particular proficiency. You're doing very complex type of work, etc., etc. So I won't go into too much detail with it, But that's basically the difference. Is certification is a validation of actually how you actually apply the knowledge that you actually have. So that's the difference between our certifications as opposed to many of the vendor certifications. We also have a specialism around cybersecurity. So ACS, it's like a superset, whereas that if you work in a predominantly cyber-based role, we can also assess you against becoming a cybersecurity specialist. And we also have micro-credentials around cybersecurity too. So there are 13, also 12 cybersecurity domains, from penetration testing, information security, governance, secure application development, etc. All and each of them are actually on 5 levels, and those 5 levels are based on Sophia. So you can also achieve micro credentials as well through that. Why I want to only just focus on the first 2, which is the CT and CT, CP, and their cyber specialism, they're the ones that are actually are related to the CSU and IT Masters credits, which I'll talk about in about 2 slides. So that's certification. So let's go to the next step and talk a little bit more about. Yep, Shane.
Can I just ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So let's take an example of my career. Okay, I've been in primarily sales and marketing all my career, but always in technology organizations.
Yep.
And in fact, I've run my own technology organization, so I would consider myself a reasonable project manager.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I would necessarily have had the structured approach to those things, because I've worked in small and large organizations across the year. Is that something that would, enable me to apply for those certifications?
Yeah, it would, Shane. However, and there's always that but component, and there's a reason why I say the but. It really depends on how long you've actually worked within ICT. So certification itself, and we've actually got other webinars we might want to point them to where we go into a bit more detail, Shane. But certification is not just about what level that you're actually working on. It's how long you've actually sustained that working level, and also to how long you've been working in IT based on your highest level of qualification. So what I mean by that, as an example, is if you have a degree from an ACS accredited university, the minimum eligibility requirement is 3 years in ICT to be eligible for a certified professional. But if you don't have any degree, whether it's IT or otherwise, you don't have a diploma, you don't actually have any industry certification, Shane, that requirement goes up to 10 years. So it's like a handicap type of system. So so in a roundabout sort of a way, Shane, is the answer is maybe. It really depends. I need to review your CV.
I have a classical studies degree and about 25 years of work experience, mostly in IT.
So
communications.
But based on what you tell me, it does look like you actually would be eligible, for certification. And we're happy to review anybody that's interested in the certification anyway. But great question.
I brought it up because I'm a little bit outside the square, maybe, for some of the people who might.
No, you're not. And can I tell you why? Because I've been doing this for 10 years at ACS, and I have seen both ends of the spectrum. I've actually had people who, if anyone works in federal government, I've had EL2s, executive level grade 2s. 10 years ago, they were managers at IGAs. So you talk about the transferable skills, etc. Nothing surprises me now about people working in IT, and they're very, very good at their roles. Like, it's amazing how they've actually taken skills from other sectors and actually applied them into IT. And they love the certification because they haven't ever had the recognition in the past, which is one reason why they'd want to actually get a master's as well, because, again, they never had that recognition, but they've been able to actually apply it. So certification is actually very important to them in that regard. But great question, Shane.
It's very similar to our student profile, in that many people have not got any formal qualifications behind it, but have fantastic work experience. But we also have people that have, a million certifications and other things as well. So it's quite a ride.
So let's look at the last 2 slides, and then we'll take some questions, because I noticed that the questions are banking up. So what's the application process? So here's the really interesting thing with certification, is that people who are successful and they ask, "Oh, what was the assessment like?" They go, "Oh, that was easy." And I said, and I've got to say, don't ever say that. I said, it was straightforward because you had the industry experience. We've had people who have just graduated, like they might have had let's say, for example, they did their master's degree in computer science with a major in cybersecurity in 2023. They finished in November and they start work in January and they apply for ACS certification. And we see this all the time. We basically reject their application and refund their money because, one, they haven't actually met the 3 years of experience requirement, but our assessment itself also too is not about what qualifications and certifications they've brought up. We want to see demonstrated working examples or war stories of how you actually apply your actual knowledge. And for someone that's only just graduated, they actually don't have that. So unfortunately, we said, look, great for you to actually apply, but you need to come back here at least 3 years from now before you even look at the eligibility. So application assessment is pretty straightforward. Just go to acs.org.au/certification. We require some minimal information from you, a current CV, uploading any education qualifications, including certificates and transcripts to support your application. Again, this is not evidence. It really just to help us to align to a pathway and provide some context for the assessor. And any relevant industry experience. So this is where you basically would just take your CV and just lay and format that out in your experience. So 2021 to 2024, I worked for IT Masters. 2017 to 2021, I worked for, whoever happens to be, et cetera, et cetera. That's basically what we're talking about, listing your industry experience. And then ICT industry experience, need to qualify that. And then also your application will also need to include the names and contact details of 2 professional referees. And those referees will be your champions. Assessors will contact those referees, again, to ask from their point of view, what your roles and responsibilities are in whichever sector that you're particularly working in. So again, probably the only hint is don't give personal referees. We've actually had that. And if you're going to nominate referees, please let them know they're actually going to be nominated, because we've actually had situations where people have been referenced as referees and they didn't even know that are actually part of the referee process. So, but that's all we need. And also a 45-minute conversation. I do say conversation rather than interview with the actual assessor. And that's where the assessor will drill down and actually to find out more about what your roles and responsibilities were, etc. So we've actually been through a process. Hope you don't mind me telling this, Shane, but we actually went through and actually certified all of the, you don't call them tutors, I can't remember the name.
Mentors.
Mentors, yeah. We've actually gone and mentored and actually have certified all the mentors. So all the mentors have actually been through that process. So you can ask them what's it's like, but as I said, it's just it's a very casual conversation. I said it's just a good opportunity to actually to answer or to talk through your war stories, because based on those responses, we'll be able to identify the skills you bring to the table and how you would apply them. So as a good example, someone might say, I work in change management in a service operation area within my business. Well, part of that we'll say is, how do you submit the change request? Are you a change approver? Who actually fills in the CIs, the configuration items? Do you actually present it to CAB, or does somebody else actually do it? Speaking of CAB, do you run the CAB? Are you a member of the CAB? Are you a change approver? They're the type of questions that the assessor will ask, and from there we'll be able to actually draw out how you're actually applying those particular skills themselves, and that will give us or help us to determine the outcome, whether it's actually a certified technologist or certified professional. So that's basically how the assessment process runs. If you want to know more details, do we still have I think you still got it online, but we've actually done a much more thorough webinar about ACS and the application process, where we interviewed some past certified professionals in ACS. I think we've still got access to that, Shane, that we could probably share if people are
That's
interested.
from nearly 2 years ago, but yes, it is online on the IT Masters YouTube channel. So
Yeah,
I will find that for you.
yeah, and that was actually where we go into much more detail, and probably more importantly, you actually heard it from people who actually went through certification. So it wasn't hearing it from ACS's perspective, because I can say something, but then it's much better to actually hear it from an IT master's student who actually has been through the actual process. So why do we do it? Because it's the next slide, which is the last slide before we take questions. It's having an ACS CT or CP, cyber or otherwise, will give you 1 or 2 subject credits towards your master's degree. As we mentioned, from memory, Shane, is it about 3650 or something? So it's roughly about
More than that now. It's
Yeah.
gone up since the last time you did this, Henry.
Oh,
It's
okay. Yeah.
3,890 currently, and it's
Okay.
going up again next year.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the cost of ACS membership and certification, which is a one-off, is $720. And that potentially could get you 2 units of credits for those who are looking at going to a master's, as opposed to just under or just over $8,000. Plus, you also don't have to worry about the study aspects of it. So it is quite a compelling, proposition for those that actually are looking at getting some industry credit towards their master's programs. And we've been very, very happy, obviously, and CSU have been a great partner of ACS's to work side by side with us, to first actually accredit our qualifications, our certifications, and actually see it as recognition, up towards a master's credit themselves. So it's been
and
quite a number of questions. I haven't looked at them, but that's the last slide. So we
I
might
was
go
going to say
through.
it's
Yeah.
one of the things about the credit is, and I'm always slightly gobsmacked about the fact that relatively few people take advantage of it. So a lot of our students take advantage of industry credits
Mhm.
because we give credits for things like CCNA, as you said before, or other well-known certifications. But the ACS credit is comparatively well priced. It's not very expensive to do. It's not a hard process. And it's a 5 or 10 times return on the investment, because one credit is $4,000 nearly. And in fact, next year will be over $4,000 for a $700 investment. And 2 credits for becoming a certified professional is nearly $8,000 or over $8,000 next year. So that is 10 times or more than 10 times the investment you make. And there are very few things in life that have that sort of return. In fact, if you heard about it, you would think it was completely dodgy, but it's actually, if somebody said, I'm going to give you 10 times your money back straight away, that is, it's not possible. But
Yeah.
in this case, it actually does work, and it's reliable, and it's backed by both the ACS and Charles Sturt. So it's a very substantial improvement. Now, we don't actually have any questions at the moment, which is, quite good because we can finish up early, but I'm sure some people might have some questions. Feel free to ask us any questions about entry. We have a session starting in about 2 weeks at IT Masters, which is our term session. And one of the benefits of the terms is that they are much smaller. They only have about 50 to 60 students. So the class sizes, instead of having over 100 students in our cybersecurity fundamentals class, we have about 30 or 40. And so it's a substantially easier learning environment. And it does mean that if you're starting off, you can get into that subject now and have it half complete by the time the next big session starts in late July. So it gives you a warm start to the process of getting your graduate certificate.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's a question.
Is there any way they can come off mute, or we just take the questions from the
just from the thing, any advantages of having ACS membership if I went to work in Ireland or the UK?
Yeah, actually, Dan, good question. So right now we're working with the British Computer Society, so BCS, which is our counterparts. We're looking at the moment of having an MOU in place, which is mutual recognition of each other's certification. So the advantages of, well, not so much ACS membership, but certification, is that if you have an ACS CP, you would be recognized for the equivalent, which is their chartered, which is the Chartered IT Professional, CITP, over there. But from a membership perspective, not at the moment, Dean, because we don't have reciprocal arrangements. BCS used to be part of what's called IP3, which is the International something of professional practice, which is basically an association of associations. But we, unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have the reciprocal relationships between BCS and ACS from a membership standpoint at this point. But it's definitely something we've been looking into. That's Dean's. And Julia, where can I see the cyber specialisms domains? So the cyber specialisms themselves, Julia, what I can do is actually send you, if you can drop me an email, I can send you a fact file on it. It's up on our website. But basically with certification is that you need to meet four SOFIA skills or related cybersecurity skills in order to apply or in order to be eligible. However, if you've got any of the requisite certifications from like ISC2, which is like the CISSP, or the CISM from ISACA, we actually have a relationship with those security associations where we actually have a mutual recognition of the skills as they apply to certification. But I can actually send you, okay, I'll make a note of that. Have you got my email, Julia? I've got a note, but or Shane can remind me. If not, drop me an email.
I'll send you a note before you cough yourself to.
Yeah. It's the worst. I'm not sure if anyone's had this horrible dry cough that you just can't get rid of. I don't know whether it's lingering effects of COVID I didn't know about and stuff, but it's been 2 weeks and still hasn't gone. So it's been driving me insane. Yeah.
Well,
out of interest, is anyone here been an ACS member or based on this are thinking about joining ACS? Because I should tell you what membership is. Membership for ACS is $372 per annum. And that's fully tax deductible, obviously, because you're working in the industry. And I honestly think it's actually a great value for what you actually receive. But yeah, I suppose I should have actually led with that and actually told you about the pricing. And ACS certification is $346.50, but it's a one-off cost. So membership is yearly, being a professional body, but certification is a one-off cost as long as you maintain your CPD hours and maintain membership itself. Yeah.
That's great. Well, if there's no more questions, and we'll give people 5 seconds to do that, I will also mention that anybody that's interested in studying and hasn't gone down the path so far, they could go to IT Masters, Am I Eligible, at itmasters.edu.au and fill in the eligibility form, or you can pick up a phone, 1300 885 685 is our phone number, and speak to any of our course advisors. We have a small number of course advisors who are pretty up with what you need to do, and talk to us about that sort of stuff as well. As I said, we have sessions starting around about the 20th of May, so applications close the Friday before that, and the next session then opens up in early to mid-July, which is the big session for the year. But yes, I'd really like to, if we have any other questions, it's possible to call. Yes, you can. I will put the phone number in the chat before we go. That's for IT Masters anyway. If you need, do you know the phone number for ACS offhand?
I don't, but it's on our website. And to be honest, I actually don't even know my own number now because people just basically email me nowadays. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And our website is itmasters.edu.au is the website, which a lot of the information is up there as well. But you feel free to ring during business hours in Melbourne, and we will be happy to talk to you about all that sort of stuff. Or you can email us as well at info@itmasters.edu.au. Normally when there's other people doing these things, we have more people on, and they have a whole list of these things prepared and just pop them in the chat. But there you go.
Oh, actually, Shane, if you go to the next slide, we've got all the ACS contact information on the next slide.
There you go. Except the phone number.
Except the phone number, but at least my email address is up there anyway.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, given all of that, I think it's been a very nice, brief session. It's good to not have it go for an hour and a half. And I thank you for your questions. I know that there've only been a few, but there's only been a relatively small number of people tonight. So if you have any other questions or things that you want to say, feel free to contact us on any of those details, and we'll be happy to provide you more information as you require. But other than that, I hope you have a nice, safe, warm evening. It's quite cold in Melbourne tonight, and I'm sure it's equally cold in other areas. I hear Sydney's still wet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So have a great evening, and a big thank you, Henry. Thank you for coming and doing this when you haven't been well, particularly.
Oh, you're welcome. Pleasure.
Okay. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody. Thank you for coming along. See you.